is the Orange Zone, sponsored by Apex Entertainment.
All right, so I'm joined by Vito Campanile, head coach at Bergen Catholic High School in New Jersey. And Vito, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. But also Steve Angeli, newest Syracuse quarterback, and of course he's a Bergen Catholic guy. So I want to just get started with you here and ask you about Steve off the bat, just really about what makes him special.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ashley. I think Stevie. He's been a winner since day one. I've known him since he's 12 years old. I think number one thing you guys are getting is you get an incredibly high character kid that's ultra competitive, and he certainly knows how to win. Did a heck of a lot of winning here. He did a heck of a lot of winning back in Westfield in junior football, and then I think he's been a soldier through and through throughout his Notre Dame career. I think he's been incredibly loyal to the program. I think he's done everything the right way. He's certainly no stranger to competition. He's competed at every level, and I think he's competed at a really high level at Notre Dame as well. And I think he's always taken a great deal of pride in a team first commitment. And I'm sure Coach Fran will see the same thing within him.
Now, of course, your brother Nunzio is the SU quarterbacks coach last year alongside Jeff Nixon, offensive coordinator. Those two facilitated essentially the best passing offense in the country. And obviously, a lot of that had to do with Kyle McCord. But how do you feel like Steve is going to kind of slot into Nixon and Nunzio, your brother's offensive system?
Yeah, I think to me, like if you were going to compare Steve to somebody in college football, I mean, it's hard to say that he's going to be Kyle McCord. I thought Kyle was as good as any quarterback in the country last year, right? But I think that it's a really good analogy, like looking at Kyle McCord, and a great comparison, right? I think they have a lot of the same skill set. I think Stevie does an unbelievable job within the pocket. Like Kyle's really good at being elusive, as far as really not a runner, but a guy that could stay alive in the pocket. Stevie has that same attribute, and I think they're, as far as build and they're kind of the same type of guys. So the number one thing I really see the similarity is they're very cerebral in what they do, and they really know the game and love football.
What can you say about Steve's sort of mobility? I know that's been a question. You kind of called him just like a pocket passer type of guy. But watching some of his tape yesterday, it seems like he can move pretty well.
100% great athlete. I mean, we've seen him hurdle guys a couple times in high school to the point where we had to pump the brakes on him, right? But yeah, he's sneaky athletic. I think very intriguing. Like as an athlete, can be elusive in the pocket, and he has a lot of courage, right? He's certainly not scared to get dirtied up in there, and he'll definitely put the ball down and get you yards when he needs it. So yeah, he definitely has that attribute to him, no question.
Obviously, it's been a couple of years since you guys have had him there in high school, but what can you just say about the high school Steve that you knew? Was he a leader? Was he a captain of your team? Just how did he kind of lead in that quarterback role?
100%. Yeah, he was a captain and he was a great leader. And I think it was a team really with a ton of alphas on the team, right? Between that junior and senior team, I believe we had 27 scholarship players within those two classes. And yeah, he really did. He took the initiative with those guys. He was always awesome with the younger guys. There was never any entitlement to him. Definitely, we had a ton of competition at one point in this program. We had 4 Division I quarterbacks. Stevie really always stayed the course. He really was a guy that worked incredibly hard. Great weight room kid. Always a great academic kid. A 4.0 plus student. Everything you want in a football guy. He's tough, accountable, definitely a team first person, comes from a great family. There's really, obviously, I'm a huge advocate of Steve Angeli, but there's really not a whole lot that I think if you went to any of his former teammates that you could really say that he didn't do exactly what he asked of others.
That's awesome. That's obviously great to hear, everything you want to hear from an incoming quarterback. Now, I don't know how often you still stay in touch with him or whatnot, but I guess just, he's had a relationship with your family for years. How much do you think that relationship sort of helped to kind of cultivate him coming to Syracuse?
We stay in touch quite often, to be honest. I think that this is something that really came up rather quickly. It was head down, go at it at Notre Dame all spring, and I really didn't micromanage any of that. I just kind of let him do his thing, but he knows whenever he needs anything that I'm going to be here to support him in every way possible. I think we talked during his visit a couple times while I was up at SU, and he felt really comfortable with the fact that I think me and Nuns are very like-minded in the way we coach, and I think it's definitely a relationship first thing, and I think Steve felt really comfortable with that. And I've known Coach Fran for a good while, and he's always going to be a straight shooter. He's always going to be about competition. He never is going to guarantee or promise you anything. And I think that, Stevie's in a situation where he's very comfortable being uncomfortable, right? He's never been handed anything at the high school level. He's never been handed anything at the college level. And he's going to go out there, he's going to compete. And I think that any team that has that drive at the quarterback position is a better football team for it. And he's certainly that type of person.
Was it a situation where he sort of knew that he wanted to come to Syracuse, or do you think it was more so he just kind of knew that his time at Notre Dame was done?
Yeah, I think, and honestly, I think that it was very much like he felt like it was the best move for him at that point in time. But, and I said to him at one point, you might have been loyal to a fault here, right? Like, whenever this transfer portal opens, I get pretty popular, right? It's got, because guys are calling up and saying what guy. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So obviously Stevie was a very marketable guy when he went in the portal, and my phone's going to get pretty busy when that happens because people want to gauge the interest. But I think he felt really good about Syracuse. I think he felt really good about the way that Kyle was able to reinvigorate his career and kind of get it to the next level. And that's definitely our hopes and aspirations for Stevie, to be able to have that same type of resolve in his time at Syracuse and develop into something that might lead to something even better down the road at the next level.
You mentioned it before, but about how he's a competitor and he'll be ready to battle. And of course, nothing under Coach Fran is ever promised. So I'm sure that it's not. But there is definitely, a situation where he could be in a bit of a battle this fall camp with Rickie Collins, who I'm sure Fran sort of won the job in the spring. How do you feel like, what do you think is going to, I guess, separate him if that becomes a battle between the two?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, like, again, I think that he is going to live where his shoes are. He's going to do every day, like, just the attention to detail and be relentless in your competition, right? In your preparation. I feel incredibly good about how much football Steve knows. I think it correlates, and I think, like, he's going to be game ready. He's played at the highest level. I think anybody who watched the game against Penn State last year, in my opinion, he goes in there and he changed the whole mantra of the game when he got in the football game. So I think that he's really battle tested. He's ready to go, and he's going to compete at the highest level. He's going to be unfazed by the competition side of it because he's comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's great to hear, and that's a great thing. Comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm sure Coach Fran loves that. A couple more questions just here for you, but as someone kind of shifting away from Steve himself, as someone who's sort of been close to the Syracuse program for a long time, through your brother and then yourself, some other players go there, Jaden Bellamy, Jaden Gould. Just How have you seen it sort of shift since Coach Fran took over?
Yeah, I think Fran's got a remarkable energy to him everywhere he's ever been, right? And I mean, we've had a long-standing relationship. He's recruited some of my players at Georgia. He's recruited guys at Temple. With Fran, you're always going to – it is what you see is what you get, right? And I appreciate that more than anything. It's never like a bait and switch type deal. It's like, hey, this is the way we do things, and I think it's very similar to the Bergen Catholic way. Like, we're going to be really tough. We're going to be accountable. I think he's going to love the kids he coaches. He's going to try and make them better people in every aspect. And really, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. This game has become incredibly competitive, right? It is an alpha dog society when it comes to college football today. And I think that we're trying to cultivate and develop people to be that here, and certainly trying to cultivate and develop people to be that there. And obviously, he's done a great job here in year one. And we want Bergen Catholic to be a home base for Syracuse. Those are guys I root for. I consider them obviously part of my family, and then guys that are an extension of my family, guys that I have a ton of respect for, and guys I feel are great football coaches.
Has the relationship sort of, I guess, with SU shifted since Fran took over at the high school level? Has it been sort of more forthcoming and transparent?
Yeah, I don't think I felt like I had a great relationship with Coach Babers as well. Coach Monroe, when he recruited there, I thought those guys did a great job. I really, but Fran, I obviously, it's at a different level because Fran is a New Jersey guy. We've known each other for over a decade. My brother obviously being on the staff, and they've had such great rapport there. I mean, Fran and Nuns are beyond they're not just guys that coach together. They're true friends. I mean, their families, are together. They're guys that are really, it's more than football for them. So when you know them at that level, obviously it's going to be a little bit deeper, right? So I'm rooting for them, right? I want them to be successful, and more importantly, I think when you're sending kids there, you kind of know what you're sending guys to, and you know what it's going to be about, and as a high school coach, you want to make sure that you're developing guys at the highest level to be the best version of themselves. And then you want to send them to the next level so that can continue for the rest of their life. And I feel like Syracuse is that type of place.
That's awesome to hear. Obviously, the portal is so crazy these days. Kyle McCord has told the story many times of your brother and Fran Brown showing up in his living room like 10 hours after he entered the portal in Columbus. You mentioned that it was quick with Steve. Was it a similar type of thing that they knew that it had to be fast like that? Or was it how was that process?
Yeah, I think with this spring one, I don't think there's really any other way to go, right? But it was beyond fast. I could assure you, like, prior to the Notre Dame spring game, there was no thought of, hey, I'm jumping in the portal next week. That was not the case. I mean, I think when Stevie met with Coach Free after the game at ND, it was kind of, it moved really fast. As I mentioned, guys were hitting me up from all over the country to try and get a glimpse of what he was going to do. And I think he felt really good after his conversations, and all three guys, with Coach Nuns, with Coach Nixon, and Coach Fran. I think after that, it was he felt really good, and it moved really quick. And those guys kind of laid it out from what it would be like, and he felt really good about that.
When Fran sees something that he likes, he goes and gets it. Just to wrap up with you here, obviously, your time as a high school coach, people call you the king of New Jersey high school football. The legacy that your family has had at Bergen Catholic has been extensive, and you just won your 4th straight state title last season at MetLife Stadium. So what's kind of been the biggest factor in that success, and how can you say, being a high school coach has changed in this era of the portal and NIL with sending guys off to college?
The second part of that question is, yeah,
loaded question.
It's changed significantly. It has. I would say that the first half of it, though, and the success is it's definitely been a relationship first business for me. I would say that, right? It's certainly a lot like this, like Steve Angeli. I don't. That's a relationship that, when his kids are playing football, I'll still be close with Stevie, right? I mean, it's more of the person than the player. And I think that's really, to me, that's been the differentiator for our program, is keeping these relationships, whether it's Steve Angeli, Jaden Gould, Ryan Butler, whoever was on those teams, right? Like keeping those relationships way above and beyond football. And I think the kids understand that that's really genuine, right? And the second half of that, like, with the portal today, unfortunately, for a lot of these guys, it's not like, hey, he's out of Bergen Catholic, like my job's done. It's like we go through this every year. And it seems like it's, you go through this process again and again, whether there be a coaching change, whether there be an injury, whether there be, hey, and it's two-sided. Sometimes it's the staff is deciding to go in this direction, and sometimes it's the kids deciding to go in this direction. I don't know that it's all healthy. I don't. It's a different game than it was 5 years ago. But for me, my job is to be their coach above and beyond, not just while they're at Bergen Catholic. And they know that when they're 30 years old, they can call me up and I'm going to be here to help them in every aspect of their life. So I don't look at it as it's a 40-year relationship for me. So, and I think that's the most important apparent part for the kids is knowing that I'm going to be here for them.
So important in today's college football landscape that just seems to get crazier and crazier with every passing day. Well, Vito Campanile, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
All right. Best of luck to the Orange. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.